Ron Richards is here to talk Twitter abuse, hackable cars, Pokemon Go ethics, Facebook ads, and Mr. Squirrelbot. Coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1575, recorded Thursday, August 11th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at QuickenLoans.com/TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. The wonderful, wild world of tech news is yours with us.
Our new tagline.
I am Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell, and yes, there is an actual human being sitting here, not a TV screen, or a human being in a TV screen. It's Ron Richards.
I feel so special being in the center seat.
I know.
I'm in the hot seat.
We want our guests to feel welcome and adored and worshipped.
Or challenged and ganged up on.
Exactly. We've got questions for you today, Ron.
No, it's great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Of course, I do a show with you pretty much every week, all about Android. You've got other things that you work on, too. What you got going?
I do. Probably iFanboy right now is the biggest one. If you like the comic books over at iFanboy, I'll talk more about it later in the show. But I'm working on some other stuff. So
excellent.
Yeah, some good things in the works.
Cool. Well, it's good to have you here because you've been, you moved.
Yes, I've been sweating in New York, and I was like, I got to get out of this heat. So I came back to the Bay Area for this week. And then sure enough, missed all about Android because I went to go see Guns N' Roses.
Oh, how was it?
It was awesome.
Are you a Guns N' Roses fan, Megan?
I'm not a fan.
It was. I know. I will.
I don't hate them necessarily.
I will say it's been, what year is it? It's 2016. So it's been 16 years since I went to like an arena show.
Yeah.
Like the last arena show I saw was Bruce Springsteen at Madison Square Garden in 2000. So I'm like stadium show, whatever.
Right.
And I went in with like more ironic expectations, like it's gonna be funny, whatever.
Sure.
They blew me like 10x better than expectations. It was amazing. It was great. I had a great time. So.
Is he still doing the cornrows thing?
No, thank God, no. Honestly, it is as if he went to sleep in 1993 and woke up today as if nothing changed. Like,
and that's what you really want when you go to
Exactly.
see a band like Guns N' Roses.
So
all right, hey, Guns N' Roses does not make a wearable or a social network, but we've got plenty of at least social network talk on today's show. So let's talk about some Twitter. First of all, Twitter's once again under fire for creating an environment that is ripe for the picking when it comes to harassment and trollish behavior. Charlie Wartzel at BuzzFeed published a scathing article that illustrates how Twitter has been weak to respond to complaints about the service's inhospitable nature, except when it comes to certain celebrities and public officials. Unnamed former employees shared their own personal experiences from inside the walls of the company that seemed to highlight a lack of understanding within the kind of higher rankings as to the gravity of abuse and a general lack of action that would help curb that abuse and make the social network more hospitable. I mean, a lot of this we've already talked on to some degree on the show. This is just more of like a wall. I mean, it's a huge article, a wall of text with lots of stories that kind of illustrate firsthand just kind of the dropping of the ball on Twitter's part.
That we see happen on a daily basis, that we have firsthand knowledge of. And it's a I was reading through this article and I was reading through stuff and like, I don't know how you solve this. I honestly don't. I feel really bad for everybody at Twitter because they've created this wonderful thing that can be used so evilly, if that's a word.
Right.
And I honestly, other than making people register and pay or have be like it's so they should be held accountable. But like in a world where I can spoof my DNS and make a video service think I'm in another country, it is so Wild West in terms of technology. I don't see how you make people accountable. Like it feels like it's a lose-lose situation.
Well, back in May, we talked about Periscope's idea of the flash jury, where you would, have a jury, basically, people that would say, like, this is offensive, like 5 or 10 people that would say this is offensive. So it wouldn't be like anyone at Twitter saying, this is offensive. And I haven't heard I haven't been part of that test. I haven't heard about anybody that is part of that test. But I mean, that is one way it could work.
Yeah, but then even that can get gamed. even that can get played. I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, whether there is a, it's a completely anonymous or this idea of this, kind of, flash jury that happens, but I feel like any system they put in place, the trolls are going to figure out a way around it. And it's just, and unfortunately it's, I know personally for me, you got to take the, just kind of ignore it, like anybody who says anything negative or anything like that. But I've never been like horribly harassed, like some other folks that I know, like I do a lot in the comic book industry, and it's some horrible people, and I wish, well, I don't wish it on anybody, but it's like, it is equal opportunity too. Like people get attacked just because, like a friend of mine is the guy who wrote the comic that killed Captain America, and that came out 10 years ago. And
still,
a couple of months ago, Captain America was in the news again, and he was getting attacked again. He's like, "That was 10 years ago, guys." It was just like, and he's like, "I gotta go off Twitter now." He's like, "I gotta leave for a couple of days because you guys will ruin it for me." It's tough. It's tough, and
that seems like a big solution for anybody who gets targeted. At some point, they're almost driven to the point to where you're asking yourself, "Is this even worth it?" Like, yes, I love being in touch with with people through the network, with in this case with fans of the shows that we do or whatever. But at a certain point, you have to ask yourself if kind of the aggravation, the agony of these kind of contacts is worth it. And actually, former employees that were quoted in this article were talking about this being a failure on the product design level, and just like a constant kind of looking the other direction and not paying enough attention to product design. Its greatest asset also happens to be the thing that trolls, are able to be so active with. Your best friend and a troll carry the same weight in the service, and it isn't like that with other services.
And it's but that's democratization, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
That's
been a big part of what Twitter's been all about too, is this free speech.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just Twitter too. I mean, look at what happened with Daisy Ridley on Instagram. I mean, Daisy Ridley is one of the happiest people I've ever seen come out of a major thing like being in Star Wars, but like, see, just this boundless thing of positivity, and she makes one comment about gun control and gets driven off Instagram, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's sad because I feel like this is the dark side of our society that is given a platform on an hourly basis to see the awful people that exist around us, and as someone who wants to believe in the best in people, like I hate, it's like I totally understand. It's like, I'll just ignore it, they'll go away, like, because you hope that the goodness will rise to the top, and again, I don't know what they can do.
That's a good point about Daisy Ridley. I loved following her Instagram, and part of what this article says is like, oh well, I moved to Instagram where I'm not harassed, and what you're saying is true. Like, if at a certain scale, wherever you go, you're going to be harassed. I am assuming that Daisy Ridley gets harassed in person as well. Probably she doesn't get the same sort of things yelled at her, but once you get to a certain point, that but all of us are not starring in Star Wars, so there is that. I don't know. I mean, I guess someone in the chat room said the Periscope flash jury has already been rolled out. If anyone has
experiences,
I don't use Periscope.
Yeah, so no one actually does. So. I mean, some people do. I mean,
if you use Periscope, email tnt@twit.tv and let us know if you've seen the flash jury thing.
I mean, it's sad because Periscope is another example of Twitter kind of failing. We talked about it All About Android, where it's like, I don't know why Periscope is a separate. It should just be part of Twitter. Just make me go live on Twitter and it would explode. But I
mean, is the future of Twitter tied to this? How it approaches this issue? Do you think? Do you think this is big enough to be a big detractor?
That's such a big.
It's already having such issues.
Here's the thing. Yes, I will say definitively yes. I know I like to wishy-wash and take both sides when we're doing All About Android, but I will say yes. This is a key element to Twitter's future in that they purely just need to take a stand. They purely need to do, this is a Twitter user bill of rights, or this is what we will stand for, this is what we'll stand for, these are the tools to enforce it. Whether or not they work or not, but right now it's been radio silence, and I think that's what's been the biggest problem. It's been radio silence, been rumors of these sketchy, weird things where they've built out algorithms to filter out abuse, or they were whatever the story said about the Obama Q&A, where they were pulling trolls out. And
they created an algorithm to filter that out, which says, okay, there's an algorithm that exists. Right. Why do people not have access to that?
But then you get people denying that happened.
Right, exactly, because it goes counter to the whole free speech aspect.
So who knows? I mean, they are a public company, and they are, held to the pleasures of their shareholders. Yeah. So like, they got to be held accountable. At least just do something. Like, I think that's all anyone's looking for, is just put your foot in the ground and do something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think they need to say this is my house. Like I don't support, like I do support free speech, absolutely. But at some point you have to say like, this is my house. You can't act like that here.
Yeah.
There are certain rules in this house, like take your shoes off at the door, all right? Definitely don't wear your shoes upstairs because you're going to track mud through the carpet.
Mom always said, don't play ball in the house.
Oh, we allow that downstairs. Oh, yeah. Anyways, everybody has different rules in their house. I suppose that's the overarching point.
Yeah, it's just sad. I just hate that.
Well, moving on, Facebook, earlier this week, Facebook was blocking ad blockers. And you, Jason, said that this was just going to turn into a massive multiplayer online blocking cat and mouse game. I doubted that because of the way Facebook serves ads, but it looks like this time, Jason, you were right.
Oh,
and I was wrong.
I take my victories when I can get them.
I've learned the hard way. You should listen to Jason.
Today, The Verge is reporting that Adblock Plus has offered a workaround to Facebook's block of ad blockers. Adblock Plus is one of the most popular ad blocking tools. They have over 500 million users. In fact, many of you wrote in to tell us that you use it for various reasons. And a lot of those reasons have nothing to do with just not wanting to see ads. You wanted to save data and speed up your browsing experience. Facebook is blocking ad blockers only on desktop and not on mobile. But the open source community at Adblock Plus accepted the challenge. They created a new filter that was added to the main easy list filter today. All you need to do is update your filter list to use it. So I say, let the games begin.
Oh, the ad blocking.
And blocking the ad blocking soon. I mean, we're going to talk about this. Yeah, we're going to talk about this story for the next however many months because it's going to keep happening. And we're going to be talking about how the blockers of the ad blockers that blocked the blockers of the ad block. And I mean, it's just going to be a nested thing. It's going to get really confusing if it hasn't already. Yeah, I mean, the Adblock said the community figured this out even quicker than they would have expected it to happen in a couple of days. Yeah. It did not take long to put together a filter. Although Facebook claims, and I haven't noticed any proof of this or anybody that's been able to prove this and write an article about it anyways, that the blocking filter that they created also happens to have some effects on pages and posts from friends. So I don't know if that's just Facebook like painting a rosy picture over. Yeah, sure they put together something, but it doesn't work. Right. Or if that's actually happening. If it's actually happening, I haven't really heard a lot about people noticing that.
Well, you wouldn't notice it.
Yeah,
see it.
So. Yeah, you wouldn't because it just wouldn't be there.
If a post gets posted in the forest, then there's anyone there to read it. But
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't be surprised by that at all, especially in such a quick and hasty. Well, I don't know if it's hasty, but a quick solution. Because what they're doing is they're looking at the front end code and trying to identify, okay, this is an ad, don't render it. And unless you know exactly the way everything is getting tagged, the chances of not rendering something that the user might want to see is probably greater. So I'm not surprised. I put a lot of validity in Facebook's comment about that the Adblock code is doing that. I just hate ad blockers. I mean, I get it. I get the argument that you mentioned about the browsing speed. And honestly, not browsing Facebook, but browsing websites is a nightmare now because of all of the third-party, includes and the interstitials and the windows and things like that. But like we're content creators. This is how we get paid. And people who block that are single-handedly taking money out of the pockets. And I understand Facebook is a billion-dollar company, and the number of people who use Adblock Plus is so small, it's not going to cripple them. But it's just morally and conceptually, like I won't bring myself to install Adblock Plus because that would be like shooting myself in the foot. And so, yeah.
Well, I have one idea about this that I got from Tom Merritt on Daily Tech News Show. He suggested that perhaps Facebook really isn't interested in this cat and mouse game at all, but they made that post for their advertisers. Yeah. Like it was a PR move saying like, hey, we're making it easier for you to deliver the ads to the people that want those ads, and we're going to block ad blockers. So don't worry, advertisers. Everyone's going to see your ads. And the chances, I mean, the majority of people are going to see those ads. Right. I mean, if you talk about there's a tutorial on how to update your filters on Adblock, it's probably not that hard, but the average person is not going to do it.
Yeah, anytime it's like, here, watch this YouTube video to see how you can block those Facebook ads.
I'm out, yeah.
99% of the people are like, yep.
And the thing is, it's a hobbyist tool. I mean, more than likely, a lot of our audiences are the types of folks who do it because they're savvy. I mean, I was 10, 15 years ago, this is the kind of thing I would be doing. What I would love and what I would like to see, and Tom, and you might be probably right, is that they've got to save face somehow. They've got to, kind of in the face of the advertisers, this is what we're doing to block this or whatever. Yep. But I've talked about it before on All About Android. I love what Google did with Google Contributor. I pay $10 a month to Google contributor, and I don't see, it doesn't block all of them, but they don't render AdWord ads to me because they know I'm a contributor if I'm logged in. If Facebook can figure out what the lifetime value per user for advertising is and distill that down to a monthly fee, if you could pay $5 a month to Facebook to not see any ads in your feed, would you pay that?
If it's really that important to you to block the ads,
Right.
you know, there's the other kind of camp, which, you know, to a certain degree, I fall into, which is I've seen ads on the internet for so long that a lot of the times I don't see them. Like I've seen them for so long that it's just white noise at this point.
Well,
And I'm not
honestly,
actually paying attention to them. I do notice the slowdowns though.
Yeah,
and
the
that's a bummer.
slowdowns are because, but the weird byproduct of online ads now are I'm seeing ads for products I've already purchased because I visited the site, or actually I am seeing ads. The retargeting does
Right.
work. I will
Yeah.
go to Amazon, I'll look at something, I go, I'm not gonna get it now. I'll go to Facebook and I'll see it put up. I'm like, oh yeah, I did want to get that book. So yeah, but
Right. It's sort of it's a distraction because I mean, like I'm looking for a car, so now every time I'm looking at Facebook, it's like, hey, you don't have a car. You looked at this one. You looked at this one. Do you want this one? And it's just distracting. But I don't think people would pay for Facebook.
You gotta put your money where your mouth is. I mean, like we've created this culture now that expects everything for free and doesn't expect to pay for it. Just on John Oliver on this past Sunday night, he did a whole thing on journalism about how, you know, newspapers are dying and all this sort of stuff because we expect it to, you know, there are no journalists left. And it's because nobody wants to actually buy papers. You know, like I gladly, you know, and I'm coming from a very privileged spot, and then I've had a good career and all this sort of stuff, and not in a position to afford it. But $3, $5 a month to put your money where your mouth is and say, I like the service. That's why I try to buy apps or I pay to the developers or things like that because, you know, we do have this level of expectation of free, but then we get mad when they turn off the thing that allows it to be free. So it's mind-boggling.
Well,
So
I feel like I pay Facebook all the time with my personal information. Like they know I'm buying a car. They, you know, they know what I'm wearing. They
That's a
know
good
where
point.
I go. They know. I mean,
That's a lot of currency too.
yeah.
I mean, there's a
it's
lot of
worth
value
a
to that
lot.
currency.
So I'm already paying them.
right.
I feel.
Well, you could be paying them a little bit more in money. Okay, so moving on. So many security stories this past week, but hey, you know, it's security conference season with Black Hat and DEF CON already wrapped up. Later this week at Usenic's security conference in Austin, Texas, researchers will reveal 2 vulnerabilities of one of them affects nearly every Volkswagen model since 1995. It's an estimated 100 million cars in total. The vulnerabilities stem from the keyless entry system. And we were kind of talking about this the other day about insecurities with keyless entry in homes, how it can be manipulated using a $40 Arduino radio device, giving the would-be thief wireless access to unlocking those vehicles. The device actually intercepts the signal that a key sends off, and then those signals can be cloned and used for access. That's just one of the examples. There's a second technique that targets many more makers and models, Audi, Fiat, Ford, Mitsubishi, Nissan, a bunch of others, called High-Tag 2 that uses the same hardware. But in those cases, I had a harder time understanding this, but basically the cars or the key fobs cycle through a number of different codes, and within a minute, you could use the system to kind of trick the system into repeating those codes enough times that you would get up to 8 of them, and that would give you access in some way. Clever. So yet again, realizing that keyless, wireless entry systems, not quite, I mean, super convenient, but convenience and security don't always play together nicely in the sandbox.
Well, I'm sorry, are we saying that a 20-year-old technology is vulnerable?
Well, then,
I got a Windows 95 install I could show you that you might have a lot of fun with,
but there's a big point there, right?
Yeah.
Why are you still using it? Why is this still, I mean, they basically pointed out that only a few select models, at least in Volkswagen's portfolio and very recent ones, this doesn't work for. Yeah. Everything else it still does. So 20-year technology. It kind of reminds me of the Delta story that we were talking about a couple of days ago, where it's like you base your entire airport operating system or operation system on the back end on technology that is literally 20, 25 years old.
I know.
Like,
I go back on the Delta. I was the project manager on Delta Airlines' website redesign in the year 2000. And I spent 6 weeks down in Atlanta at Delta Technology with their very
antiquated, archaic,
very nice and educated and experienced engineers.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the machine. I was talking about the
engineers themselves. But yeah, there were a lot of guys who were lifers. There were a lot of guys. I mean, that's the thing.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seasoned. Delta was. I don't know if they still are, but Delta was one of those. Now I'm totally off the topic. But Delta was one of those companies that. they used to call you could get a job what they called slinging blue, which was draining the lavatories from the planes that blew whatever it was. That like the guy who was one of the heads of marketing that was running the website group started off doing that. Like they were one of those companies where you climb up,
move
climb
up the ranks.
So you had a lot of people have been there, a lot of legacy stuff, a lot of old systems. And admittedly, this was 16 years ago. But even then, I was like, oh my God, you're still on that? You're still using this?
Right.
Like it's so I wasn't surprised by Delta. But that's the thing is that as technology evolves, the technology they use to create it gets stopped in time.
Yeah.
Who's really minding the store? Who's looking at it? And then the technology that can counteract it develops to a $40 Arduino that can do this. And who would think about, who at Volkswagen would think, oh, we really should patch the 1996 Jettas? Nobody.
Right.
So,
Well, this reminds me of the smart lock story that we were talking about. And you brought up the point, well, what if someone wants to throw a brick through your window, then they get right in, which, happens every day on the streets of San Francisco in cars, just
doesn't matter what keyless system you have.
Yeah.
There's an easy way to get in.
Yeah.
Right. So, in what Ian Thompson said was, well, it's much quieter to do it with an Arduino. Nobody's, running up, but
Way more stealthy.
yeah. So, and I guess maybe you could be parked anywhere and this could happen to you. So yeah, that's a different thing. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, can you trust any lock at all these days?
No.
I don't know.
It's a dangerous world.
Yeah, and the challenge here, of course, is obviously, going back to those older models that have this, like there's any sort of fixing that's going to be done to that.
Right. Well, that's my question: is there a fix? Can you take it into a Volkswagen dealer and be like, I need to patch this? I don't
know.
Yeah.
Even if there is, that's a heck of a lot of fixes to happen. On cars that are, like you say, 20 years old. Like at a certain point. In the phone world, we're used to 2 years being the limit for support.
Right.
I have to imagine 20 years is pretty long to expect support on cars.
Going through binders trying to find the code that they made. Oh, jeez.
There you go.
Oh, well, it is a dangerous world.
Yes.
Russians,
be scared.
Anonymous black hat hacker that lives next door. What should we be afraid of? According to an article in Slate's tech section today, the answer is squirrels. We should be afraid of squirrels. Cyber Squirrel One is a Twitter account and a website that catalogs all unclassified cyber squirrel operations that have been released to the public. In other words, they monitor animal disruptions of technological infrastructure, like that pesky little weasel that disrupted the Hadron Particle Collider a few months ago. If you don't trust the account of a squirrel on Twitter, you can get a link to the news story that verifies the details of varmint interruptions to all the tech we have come to depend on. Varmints, by the way, include birds, Kara. The birds are varmints, sorry to say. Squirrels, chewing on things. Birds, monkeys. Also, it includes monkeys.
Jeez.
The most dangerous hacker is a clueless hacker that doesn't know what it's doing. And in this case, squirrels have absolutely no idea what they're doing or what they're not doing. We should give them credit.
Or do they? I put a link in the doc. A squirrel stole somebody's GoPro the other day. Did you see this video?
No.
Yeah, so it's in there if you want to show the video.
Can I chime in on this? He actually didn't steal this GoPro. The guy intentionally left it out, thinking he's gonna, squirrel, it looks close enough to something that a squirrel might grab and take. So the guy was actually really smart. He just left his GoPro out there, and sure enough.
Well, sure enough, it stole it. You're right.
Yeah, so this is fascinating. So I feel like the squirrels know more than they're letting on. They know more than we think.
We don't give them enough.
Yeah.
We don't give them enough credit. In fact, Rachel Gross from the Smithsonian had a quote on this article, said, "Don't count the power lines disrupted. Appreciate the power lines successfully avoided." Seriously, these squirrels have avoided many power lines.
That is the glass half full, absolutely.
This video is just fascinating. It's just fascinaing. It's like, yeah, I know, but it's kind of. Did you see that movie Hardcore Henry, where it was the POV movie? It's kind of like that, but no, the squirrels they're on top of it. And the thing is, there's those natural stuff like that is going to happen.
I want to be a squirrel now. I didn't realize I wanted to be a squirrel until I saw this GoPro video.
Well, the point of this article was, too, that maybe we, are looking into the wrong things.
Yeah.
We're scared of the wrong things.
Right.
So, yeah, the former deputy director of the NSA says, according to this website, the number one threat experienced to date by the U.S. electrical grid is squirrels. I could not find a backup besides this website to that quote, but I believe this squirrel.
That was that website,
squirrel one.
agendaversesquirrels.com. But I think we still have to be afraid of anonymous and Russians and
Squirrels Squirrels and
awesome.
hoodies. That's what
That's
we need
that's
to
an
be.
ominous
afraid
squirrel.
of.
Yeah.
Season 3 of
Mr.
Mr.
Squirrel
Robot.
Bot.
Yeah, Mr. Squirrel Bot.
Oh, jeez.
After the break, is it appropriate to play Pokemon Go at a funeral? We might answer that question and more, but first let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter, the sponsor of this episode. If I have learned anything from that previous segment, it's that squirrels are industrious little varmints. I bet you wish you could hire one for your next open position, but you can't. But you can use ZipRecruiter to find someone just as industrious, maybe even more industrious, but without that big bushy tail to get in the way. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 plus job boards, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Just post once and watch your candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. You can search by skills, location, work experience, and more. ZipRecruiter's advanced matching technology delivers the most relevant candidates based on your criteria. ZipRecruiter offers optimized pages that look great on any screen. Add their unique mobile apply process for more visitors and applicants. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. No more juggling emails or calls to your office. You can add multiple users to your account. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 800,000 businesses and is trusted by hundreds of Fortune 500 companies. More than 125 million candidate applications have been delivered. Whether you're hiring now or you plan to hire in the near future, check out their blog for recruiting tips or hiring resources. Right now, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. ZipRecruiter is the fastest way to hire great people. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT, and we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. Wired.com posted a piece today how the meteoric rise for Pokemon Go has created a need not for Pokemon scooters or Pokemon scanners or even Pokemon Go survival knives, which is something I actually saw on Amazon today. Instead, Wired says that what we need right now is a code of ethics for augmented reality. I'm calling it Poke Ethics or Poke Ethics. Who better to discuss this than us? What do you think, Ron?
I read the article and I had to laugh because I think it does bring up a lot of interesting questions as to what is appropriate behavior. But I think the point is the fact that you're out in the world playing a video game, act like a normal person. And if something says don't trespass, don't trespass. If you're somewhere where you shouldn't have your phone out, don't take your phone out. I mean, like it's times like this where it's like the obvious, like when we have to state the obvious, that's when I weep for our society.
Yeah, it's the whole question of it being. It's like augmented. The promise of augmented and virtual reality is escaping to another world, and maybe with virtual reality, that's in some ways a little bit safer because you're forced to be confined to a certain area when you actually do that. In some ways, it's probably less safe because you're completely blocked off from everything. So someone could walk up to you and give you a noogie.
Although I was watching
or a wedgie.
I was catching up on a noogie. You got it mixed up there. Yeah.
I did.
I was catching up on Mr. Robot. Right, because I've been traveling and so I fell behind or whatever. And not the most recent episode, I think 2 episodes ago, one of the characters was on the subway in New York. And it was, if you watch Mr. Robot, there's a lot of long, silent shots of just, whatever. So she's standing on the subway. And to her right, there's a teenager, maybe early 20s woman with a Samsung Gear VR standing on the subway next to her, just like reaching out into space and like and doing but like obviously in VR, and of course it's a statement of the world and the plugged in or whatever. But like I laugh, I'm like, oh, someone's playing VR on the subway. That's silly, but
it happens.
They can.
I've seen the photos of the people sitting on the subway, or I've actually seen video of the guy doing that. But I mean, in AR, you have this sense of, well, you see the world a little bit more, so maybe you are likely to respond more to the do not trespass sign, whatever. But I mean, the people who are making these creations, they're kind of assuming. I mean, yes, they're warning you not to do that, but they also want to create an environment that pulls you in and that to a certain degree shuts you off to reality because they want to offer you an enhanced reality. And
case in point, third song into Guns N' Roses, I look to my left and my buddy is there with his phone catching a Pokemon that was sitting on stage. And I was like, seriously, put it away, dude. But like that's I mean, when like you said, Niantic has created this game, both Ingress and Pokemon Go, where the arena is the world around us, and whether or not we need a code of ethics, that we all need to agree to. I mean, how can you enforce that? But it's just rather a reminder that you're out in the public. Don't be a jerk. Just don't be a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, and this Wired article points this out, that we are interacting with real people, so maybe we will be nicer to each other than we are on Twitter.
Yep.
You know, and so that is the future. I mean, we've already heard lots of stories of people like meeting people and out in the world. There's Pokemon Go dating sites.
Pokewalks, and I've seen. I was riding the subway in New York, and I saw a flyer on the subway for Pokemon bar crawl. And it was, they organized a bunch of, started a bar and go, and like, that's cool. And that's the thing with Ingress. Like, Ingress forced you to, what I thought was interesting when Ingress came out was that there were all these spots around the area where you can make to your color or whatever. But when you saw someone else playing Ingress, just like Pokemon, like, oh yeah, they're playing that. So like, there's that person who I'm playing with. I'm not alone. I'm not isolated. I'm not behind a computer. I'm not behind a screen. I'm not behind a screen name. So it does allow more accountability. That said, I mean, I think the problem is less about, I mean, yeah, there's some instances where Pokemon is involved in, whether it's profiling or, people playing Pokemon that the cops don't think are playing Pokemon and things like that.
Right.
But I've yet to see any fights break out because of Pokemon or any sort of attacks. Imagine if there was, like when you're really pitting people against each other, how do they really, because right now it just seems all fun and we're collecting these things and running around and but.
Is the
There's
question...
the knife.
I mean, we're talking. Oh my goodness, why? This is just.
You see, no, that's just I mean, that's okay.
Oh, well,
I mean, no, this isn't a knife for
I see,
Pokemon Go. It's I'm on Team
You're
Mystic.
right.
I want a knife that looks like Team Mystic.
I get
Yes,
it now.
yeah, but yeah.
If you had to stab a Pokemon, you could.
Right.
I suppose so. Or a Philip. No, I'm not gonna say it. So then there's the ethics around people who are experiencing AR. There's also, I think maybe the bigger question on as far as what this article is talking about is ethics for people who are creating this.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, the creators, privacy is a huge hurdle for AR. Intention for that data is a big challenge. You get these terms of service when you sign up for Pokemon Go, and of which there are a ton. They're collecting a lot of they're very specific, targeted, pattern-based, information about people when they're running this app, and they have a certain intention, or at least there's an implied intention about what that means right now. It's used to play the game. It's used to show me that I go over there and that I catch a Pokemon. But I mean, what is the long term of that? They still have that data. That data might be valuable, and I'm not just talking about Pokemon, but AR in the future. When you're talking about everything you see has bits and pieces of information that's pulled in, and all the data that's generated from that. As a user, on one hand, you expect that data is to be used a certain way, but the long term is that data is still valuable. It could be used in some way completely different.
Right.
And there's definitely ethical questions around that. Like, for example, Google, I think it was around the time of Google Glass, maybe it was a little bit before, there was a mashup of, I think, Foursquare and Facebook, or Foursquare and Google Maps, called Girls Around Me, that basically pulled public information, publicly available information that people are sharing in a public space, but sandwiches that together in a new way that merges it on top of a map. So it's all information that you could get, but now that it's cherry-picked and put together in a new way after the fact, and a way that's totally unintended by the user, it becomes powerful in a new way and kind of dangerous, or potentially dangerous.
Yeah, and even the whole concept of Pokestops. I mean, the Pokestops are all based off of crowdsourced locations from Ingress. So they weren't even. I mean, so the people who played Ingress laid the groundwork for Pokemon, and then you got weird. I was just trying to find kind of articles that are talking about weird Pokestops. But a friend of mine was playing Pokemon in Queens, and one of the Pokestops was "Hot Girl I Like's Bedroom Window." And it was somebody had added it in Ingress, and now that was in Pokemon, and it was, and the photo was a shot of a window in an apartment building, and it was like, all right, well, that's crossing the line.
Yeah,
and like clearly
for sure.
that woman doesn't want that to be a Pokestop, or her house to be a Pokestop.
Well,
But
I would imagine so.
I mean, in some ways, that's the same problem that we're talking about with Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, Twitter
Right.
was created by people that, many people who all look the same. We're very similar. We're mostly male. And that's the same. I mean, most Ingress players were the same way. And they were mostly white. And so that's why you see that there's not that many Pokestops that are in primarily African-American neighborhoods. And so what's the responsibility of Niantic I mean, that's not fair. Like, of course, you know, we know all about, we understand all about discrimination in Silicon Valley, but this is maybe the first time it's been like neighborhood discrimination because it's like it's not in your neighborhood.
Yeah, guarantee you go to Oakland and there's not a lot of Pokestops in that one part of the city. You know, yeah. I found an article here in January 2013 said the demographics of Ingress. This is as of 2013, but said the average Ingress player was 30.5 years old, 91% male, 64% non-religious. 60% speaks English as their first language. Yeah, I mean, it's a very, I'd say it, geeky kind of demographic, and that's, you know, because it was a geeky kind of game. And,
right. So the same way the creators of Twitter couldn't imagine how this could be used to harass someone repeatedly who was maybe like a female game developer. Like, they didn't create it thinking like, we don't care about women or we want women to be harassed. It just wasn't what they were thinking about.
It wasn't intended. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I think the bigger thing about this isn't necessarily directed, because Pokemon Go is a prime example, like an example to use in this, but it's kind of the similar kind of ethical question that we talked about before about robotics and AI, and, you know, in the long term, you know, specifically robotics, how some of the hard rules need to be made now because, you know, this technology is going to advance and it's going to grow in certain directions down the line. And if you don't make those hard decisions now, then the way that stretches out over the course of years, it could potentially get to a point that you don't, you know, wasn't intended and that you should have curbed.
But I don't know how you can set hard rules.
Yeah, it's hard.
Both in the example of Twitter and in the example of Pokemon. I mean, like, you know, like the idea is that go out and explore your world and catch Pokemon. I mean, I would not walk into a graveyard to go do that, but if I was 15, I probably would have. I probably wouldn't have even thought about it. I know that now as a much older gentleman.
Right.
But you know, or you know, to not go and play a game at a Holocaust memorial in Germany or whatever, you know. You know, like there are places where behavior is appropriate, places behavior was inappropriate, and those lessons need to be taught to people aside from whatever game they're playing. Just whatever you're doing, just don't, like I said, go back, don't be a jerk. The same thing with Twitter. I mean, it's like, again, it's like, you know, they, like, you're right, they didn't think about the ramifications of celebrity culture and public personas and people who want to make messes of other people's lives and things like that. What they saw was a truly, you know, pure intent for free speech and free expression, and it just, you know, so like these are the challenges that we got to figure out. And, you know, if it takes somebody putting up a sign that says don't play Pokemon here, then that's what this is going to take. I mean, it's a fad.
Get off my Pokelawn.
Yeah, get off my Pokelawn. There you go.
So what do we think? Pokemon at a funeral? Yay or nay?
Nay. I mean, no, you could. I mean, there's lots of. I would even go as far to say no Pokemon at the Guns N' Roses show, and I told my friend to put his phone away. You know, but then again, in that scenario, I told him to put his phone away, stop playing Pokemon, and then I took my phone out to take, you know, a Snapchat moment, and also, you know, so like where
is the line?
Yeah. Who's more the fool? You know, so I don't know, but it definitely is a weird world we're in now.
It is
weird.
Well, moving on to something that cuts across all gender and race lines, we talked about the differences between cat and dog people and bird people. You had a lot to say. James writes, to confirm some of Facebook's research as a fellow cat person, Dracula, check. Terminator 2, Alien, Batman, A Clockwork Orange, check. Marley and Me, never going to read or watch that, check. Star Trek, check. Never felt proud, fabulous, or blessed, but that might be because I don't get excited, check. Facebook, well you know me. Please tell me more about myself.
Oh, that's so sad. You've never felt proud, fabulous, or blessed?
He doesn't need to because he has a cat.
Okay, whatever.
It is.
Daily listener Dave Russell writes that he is a dog person. So here's his perspective. The reason is simple. Dogs are in tune with your feelings and are empathetic. Cats want to be in touch with their feelings. I mean, he didn't say this, but they're very selfish. And they make me sneeze. That's me.
Yeah, me too. I'm also allergic to cats, so we're sort of a bias.
We're outliers. Yeah.
Tom Foster from the UK responded to Facebook's assumption about what it means to be a cat or a dog person with the statement that correlation does not equal causation, and a website to prove it. I think we have that website. It has all kinds of causation correlations that are not causation. For example, the divorce rate in Maine correlates to the per capita consumption of margarine. I think that means Mainers should stop eating margarine. But
hands down, yeah. And that was kind of the point that I was trying to make yesterday, which is like you take a look at any data set that has all of this stuff, and you're going to find a movie that is the most on a certain type of person does not necessarily mean that they relate to each other. But you will find that data is there.
Well, hey, listen, those dog people really are into 50 Shades of Grey.
Apparently.
Let me tell you.
Apparently.
Are you a dog person or a cat person?
I'm a neither person. I do not like animals.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, but
You've got no heart. You've got no soul.
I have a lot of heart. The problem is I have too much heart, and and actually I live with a dog, and my sister has 2 dogs, and so like there are dogs in my life. I would, if I had to choose, I would choose dog over cat. Because I think cats are the spawn of Satan, but no, but I just don't like pets because once we genetically engineer dogs to live 73 years like humans, then I'll be a dog person, a full-fledged dog person. If there's at 15 years, I can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. Can't deal with it.
I can understand.
Yeah, so my heart is too big to be a dog person. So there you go. I set up walls.
All right. You started that, and I didn't know if you were going to be able to explain it, but now I understand.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
See, my heart is too big.
Up next, you too can build a robot appendage, or maybe you can't, but some guy did, and we'll show it to you. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They are the sponsor of this episode. Mortgages are not very fun. They're not enjoyable. It's not like going to a movie and, throwing on 3D glasses and just having a great time. It's like digging through stacks of paperwork, going through your filing cabinet, trying to find that one piece of data that you need to prove that you should get this mortgage so that you can get the house that you really want. It's not fun. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century, so you don't have to do all that stuff. Fast, powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. If you hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork, well, then there you go. Now you can get to putting on those 3D glasses and going to see a movie. With Rocket Mortgage, in fact, you could do this while you're sitting in the movie. You could send them all of the information that they need through the app. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button, helping you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet from the movie theater. It's a quick online process you can manage from the convenience of your theater chair or your couch at home. Probably more likely your couch at home, really. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That is quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
TNT's fan of the day is Pam Bucci, who emailed us this picture saying, I do farm sitting, and while feeding the cows and chickens, I listen to your show. I listen. The chickens wouldn't cooperate, so we don't see any chickens in that picture, but the cows appeared to understand the selfie pose.
Did you yell out and say, all right, cow, it's time for a selfie? And the cow walked over and was like, oh, moo. Out in the back.
It is surprisingly easy to take good pictures of cows. They look right in the camera.
Yeah, they don't realize you got to tilt your head down to minimize the chin action. Yeah. So.
Keep them coming. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google Plus, where we just found a ton of them. Thank you for posting them there.
Lifted a rock.
I know.
Twitter or Facebook. Also, we check there and use the hashtag #HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it.
It's just really hard to sort by date on Google Plus.
It's hard to do a lot of things.
So
I
do exactly. I do the hashtag thing, and it's this wall of stuff. So I had to just let it load, and I found a bunch of them in there. So sorry if you sent yours on Google Plus and it's never made it to the show. It will over the course of the next few days.
And of course, in my head, I heard you say "let it load" to Frozen. So.
Oh, why'd you have to do that? Now it's in my head. Jerk. So you thought you were an accomplished individual, eh? Have you ever taken apart a brand new coffee maker and just, threw together a bionic robotic hand out of the parts? Check out this video of Evan Booth doing just that. It's sped up and condensed, thankfully, in a time-lapse video that runs a total of 5 minutes. But the actual time it took to build the thing was 199 hours, 56 minutes, and 36 seconds. It's called the Hedberg. I'm thinking, I don't know. Is
Mitch?
it Mitch Hedberg fan?
So
maybe Mitch had a random joke about turning a coffee machine into a Terminator hand.
So this is 8.2 days.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Okay, so it's a Keurig coffee maker, which I'm not even, I know, there's some magic. Maybe there's some magic going on here, because I just think there might be a hand inside there, a robotic hand making the coffee already, and he just pulled that out.
Because
took it apart,
Keurigs are
put it
pretty
back together.
magical.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. We should listen to the music that goes along with this video, because it's Debussy, Claire de Lune, which makes it even more beautiful.
Oh, wow, that's a different.
Yeah, you almost imagine speed metal, but
Yeah.
or Benny Hill theme.
Oh,
And it
So I don't. So he took the parts of the coffee maker and made a robotic hand.
Yeah, he added some adhesive.
Like out of
maybe
like.
some screws.
Are there plans to do this, or was this just like he saw the coffee maker and then in his head saw a robotic hand?
I don't know the motivation, but yeah, all he had was the coffee machine. You see him unbox it at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah,
So he takes it
yeah.
out of the box, disassembled it. The only added electronics was a 12-volt external power supply, but he had tools, a rotary, a head gun, screwdrivers, and then adhesive.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just, no big deal. Just turn this coffee maker into a robotic hand that actually closes and grips things and picks things up.
That's crazy.
Okay, so this is Evan Booth. He has a website, Terminal Cornucopia, where he asks the question, can common items sold in airports after the security screening be used to build lethal weapons? So
Right. But keep in mind, this took this guy 8 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I've had some long layovers, but 8 days.
I don't know. On Delta,
Yeah.
there's,
Well,
so,
yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, he's already somebody who takes items and tries to see if you can make things out of them.
Right.
I don't believe he's a terrorist.
I don't think he's a
trying
terrorist.
to
He would be,
prevent
yeah,
terrorism.
yeah. This reminds me of when so it was way back and shows how old I am, but early 80s for Christmas, we got an Intellivision, which was the best console. You Atari people, a television was better. But
That's not true.
And so it's Christmas morning. It is. And so it's Christmas morning, and it's dead. It doesn't work. And so
Brand new, it's
brand
dead?
new, brand new.
Oh, man.
And so
Oh,
I know,
heartbreaking.
and exactly. So we wait till it's early 80s. So we go the next day. We go and we go back to Toys R Us, and my dad brings it and says, "Yeah, it's dead." And they're like, "Oh, it's all sold out. We don't have any other ones." And I go, "Oh, it's just sad." And then my dad says, "Wait, did anyone return one because the controllers didn't work?" And the person goes, "Yeah, actually they did." My dad goes, "Great, give me that." So he took ours and the one with the controllers broken, went down into the basement, not for 8 days, but for several hours. I don't remember. My 5-year-old mind doesn't remember. And came back with a working Intellivision, and I thought he was God. Basically, he took the logic board from the one that got returned with bad controllers and swapped it with our dead logic board with good controllers and made a good Intellivision. It's not a robotic arm, but when you're 5 or 6 years old and it's
basically
1982,
the same
83,
thing.
it was like, how did you do that? And I saw all the parts and the solder. And this is back before like USB. Like he had to like take apart everything and resolder it, and it all worked. And I will never be able to do something like that. And so this is
That's
it
fascinating.
reminds me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people don't do that anymore.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To throw it away,
this
buy
guy
a new
does.
one. Yeah.
This guy does.
Also,
so
my dad's
did
a
he-
genius.
Apparently, did he buy the second one and then return it?
No, because it was returned. So yeah, so he
So
he
they
took
just gave him a broken one?
He took the remaining parts and brought that back to Toys R Us, I think, and said, "Here's a returned one." You know, like the whole thing is they're just going to send it back to Mattel. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, but
That's interesting.
yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Got a
And more
perfect on the
people should do
perfect on the SATs. Yeah.
Dang.
That was fun to grow up with. No, he's awesome. He's awesome. So, I did not.
that. Tell us about your father, Ron.
Yeah, he's great. No, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. He's very, very smart.
How about instead of telling us about your father, you tell us what you did get on your SATs? No.
Wait. Did I tell you what I got on my SATs or what I tell people I got on my SATs? Because
What you
those
tell
are two
people
different
you got,
numbers.
yeah.
No. And every time I talk about it, it seems to be a bigger number. No, but yes, I did. I did fine on the SATs. I went to college. And
I don't even remember what I got on my SATs.
Yeah, and then I chose to start a website about comic books. So I'm making my dad proud every day. Yeah, go to ifanboy.com. You can check out. We do a weekly podcast comes out every Sunday. Where we talk about the week's comics, and then we've also been talking about the big geeky movies that come out. So we talked about Star Trek Beyond, and more recently the mess that was Suicide Squad. So you can go to ifanboy.com and listen to all that there, and you can follow me on Twitter at RonXO because I've got at least 2 new podcasts coming. They're getting loaded. They're getting ready to launch.
Nice.
So definitely follow me to find out about them. So,
Nice. That's exciting. Excellent. Thanks for coming up.
my pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks
a lot
for
of
having me. Always fun.
TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us. Please do. It's tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. You can find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
You can subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TNT. There are many ways to subscribe: video, audio. You'll find it all there.
3D immersive. No, not quite yet.
Not yet.
Working on it.
Not
Soon.
yet. I don't know what we would be like immersive. You can tweet at me. I'm at Megan Morrone.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Greg for the words on the prompter. And everybody basically that helps us do the show every single day. And thanks to you for talking tech. We'll see y'all tomorrow. All right, three-way thing.